Hey friends, wanted to make a video about one of my favorite actors of all time and what I think is one of the greatest American actors that we have, and that's Joe Pesci. Wanted to do some career highlights and then make a quick case for his Best Supporting Actor nomination and hopefully his win at the 2020 Oscars. We'll talk about the category, some of his contenders, and kind of talk about a little bit about some of the other people. And because a few of the others, like Pacino, who's also in The Irishman with him, he's also won the Oscar before. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Um, some of the career highlights for Joe Pesci. He started in the mid 70s in like 75, but these are just the standout roles. We've got Raging Bull in 1980 with Robert De Niro, who's one of his on screen companions for his entire career, and that's beautiful. What a beautiful thing. We've got, and this is also to highlight what a varied and storied career that Pesci's had. So we've got Raging Bull in 1980. In 1983, we've got Easy Money with Rodney Dangerfield, and this is a comedy. So total departure from Raging Bull. 1988, another total departure, and that's Michael Jackson's Moonwalker movie. So Joe Pesci was a part of the Michael Jackson production. And I think that goes to show you just how American Pie, how, much of an American institution Joe Pesci had established himself as. Then we've got 1989's Lethal Weapon 2 with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Um, 1990, 1990 was my favorite year. I was just a small kid, so very impressionable. Everything I saw, I loved. But it was Joe Pesci's career-defining year and my favorite year of his films. And that is, leaving Lethal Weapon, 1990's Goodfellas. Also with Robert De Niro, his buddy. He acted along his buddy when he got his first Best Supporting Academy Award. Forgot to mention, but he had been nominated for Raging Bull as Best Supporting Actor, but won in 1990 for his portrayal in Goodfellas, and as we all know, well deserved, well deserved. Also in 1990, we've got Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin, cult favorite, American favorite. I'm partial to Home Alone 2, which is coming up, but another American institution, 1990's Home Alone. Then in 1991, we've got Kevin Costner's JFK. So that's an interesting turn, from comedy to, mob movie. He always played an intense and a serious role, but in all kinds of different features. Then we have 1992's Home Alone 2, which is my absolute favorite with Macaulay Culkin. Then we have kind of a renaissance of the mafia or mob movies, starting in 1993 with A Bronx Tale, also starring Robert De Niro. The next few roles that were standout roles. He did a few roles, throughout the late 90s, early 2000s, and I think in 2015 or so he did a role. But these are the breakouts. The next few roles that really made cultural impact were all co-starring Robert De Niro. So we've got A Bronx Tale in 1993, which is fantastic. My favorite of the mafia genre, which is Casino in 1995 with Sharon Stone, also De Niro, and several others. We've got a few notable roles, but then we have 2019's The Irishman. Also it's a Scorsese film, also with De Niro and a huge cast, Ray Romano and Anna Paquin, and a huge cast of characters. There's a controversy right now as to the role of women in the film, and there's a discussion to be had about that. But I just thought it was a fantastic ensemble cast. Pacino, we also mentioned at the beginning of the movie, he will also probably split the vote with Joe Pesci. That's the only, kind of bummer or downside here is that his portrayal of Jimmy Hoffa was incredible. He owned the room every time he was on screen, and so there is a case to be made for Al Pacino to win an Oscar. Now, he's also, for A Scent of a Woman in 1993, he won his first Oscar. So he does have precedence for winning an Oscar. Um, and he was a very viable actor, you can see in The Irishman. And he can go on to do some Shakespeare and to do some other roles that may garner him, an Academy Award. Also in the role, just a couple other people I'll mention is Brad Pitt, who, is not an industry favorite, but there's a lot of industry discussion around giving him his first Oscar. And so that's something that Joe Pesci his camp will have to think about. And then we have the final roadblock is Timothy Chalamet. So Timothy Chalamet is to be nominated for Little Women, or that's what my prediction is. He also had a phenomenal, and the Academy Awards sometimes for a season for a body of work. And The King on Netflix, I maintain and I say all the time was one of my favorite films of this year. I think it was my favorite film so far this year. So Timothy Chalamet's strength in The King, and then his performance in Little Women, two vastly different roles and approaches and styles of acting. That's something that the Joe Pesci camp will have to contend with. But this was a long time coming. Joe Pesci was brought out of retirement for this. My fingers are crossed. I'll have a corned beef sandwich and a glass of wine, and I will be rooting for Joe Pesci for the 2020 Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. What are your predictions? Did you think Al Pacino was a little bit stronger and may take the cake this year? What are your thoughts? As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers, guys.